So how about we start with you, Michael?
Sure. My name is Michael Kohlweg, and I'm the founder and animation director at Mountainfold Studio. So I've been animating for about 10 years now, had the studio for coming up three, and just really love the process of stop motion and really what it can bring to the world and its tactile feeling. And I have a lot of fun creating animations.
How did you get into the stop motion? Like this is like an interesting niche because there's a lot of, production artists out there, but nobody who really just
Yeah.
specializes in stop motion unless you're like Pixar or something.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I started with 2D motion design. And then in 2019, I think, I participated in a 100-day challenge put online by El Luna, I think was her name. But you basically choose something to practice or learn over 100 days, and you make the thing every day and post it and just continue on. And I chose to animate, sorry, to learn stop motion animation. So I animated a little 1-inch paper box doing and being different things for 100 days, and just fell in love with the whole process.
Wow, it's very cool. They say like it takes 10,000 hours to learn something, right? So
Yeah,
you starting off just learning this one thing in 100 days is pretty impressive.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And how about you, Casey? So, what was your involvement in this project that we're going to be talking about, and what are you currently working on right now?
Sure. So yeah, I'd way rather talk about the project than myself. But my name's Casey Corneil. I'm the lead media production for Calgary Public Library. Um, so yeah, our team at the library, we're like an internal agency model. So we have a production team that's part of our marketing communications department. So we do all kinds of video, photo, virtual programming projects for the library and with partners around the city. For as far as me, my background's in film and television, so
Hmm.
I have an education in screenwriting, directing, and have spent my entire adult life just studying storytelling and movies and books and all that fun stuff. So that's where my passion lies. And the last 12 or 15 years, I've been working in corporate communications, kind of similar to you, Derek. Which has been a really interesting way to take those skills and just pour them into more corporate stuff.
Yeah, for sure. As Lord knows, let's say from B2B standpoint, it can get quite boring sometimes. So being able to tell a story in intriguing ways or engaging ways is compelling ways, all the buzzwords, is super important. So I do want to talk about the work that you both did on Page, the short film for the Calgary Public Library. Um, it was fantastic. The first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, wow, they put in like a lot of great work for this, this 2 minute, basically an ad. And, it's funny because we just had the Cannes screening celebration a couple weeks ago. And a lot of the ads that showed up on the reel that they were showing during the gala were like 2 minutes, 5 minutes long, and I was at a table and we're all like, "Hey, where are they airing these things? Like, you're not going to be airing this 5 minute Apple commercial on television." So it's fitting that to have you both on here to talk about really what inspired this idea for a short film that represents a brand. So what inspired the idea for Page? Like kind of explain what the film was, the purpose of it, and how it all came together.
Okay, so I think I should probably start because this was a project that was initiated by the library, and it was really an idea I've had for a few years since I started at the library. This idea of like a page of a book coming to life and what that would represent, to me it was an opportunity to just like really pour some of that love for libraries, for books, for stories, for curiosity into a character. Um, so it's been kicking around my brain for a while. And it's funny you call it an ad because like I always thought of it as a short film because although I have a job in my soul, I'm a filmmaker and I just want to tell a story. But yeah, it turned into a 2 minute short film. I don't know that that's what we envisioned from the start, Michael. Um,
No, it wasn't.
but it did like I think it came from a really good organic place as far as like what it was supposed to represent. Um, Fitting it into like the marketing purposes kind of came along as we were doing it in a really interesting way, working with, we have a marketing team and a communications team at the library, and so they really helped me shape it. Whereas Michael helped shape this idea of a page coming to life into something that could actually be done. And like the use of stop motion was, it seemed like a really good fit from the start of the idea. And I just had no idea how to do it. I've never done anything. And it was just sort of fate that I met Michael. My boss actually met him at Social West last year, and
Hmm.
she played matchmaker. She was like, "You'd really get along with this guy. I'm gonna get you to meet him." And we met, and it was just like from the start we just hit it off. And so like
Yeah.
shared this idea with him, and then he just shared all his ideas, and it kind of grew and built into this thing. Initially, we were like, could we make a 15-second commercial or like a 30-second video? And then our ideas kind of like took us over, and it became this huge thing. And lucky for me, Michael was flexible and he was like, let's just do it. Let's make it great.
Awesome. That's awesome. It's
Yeah, from the start it was.
yeah, go ahead,
Go on.
Michael. Sorry.
I know from the start, like the idea just sounded so fun to me, so I wanted to work with the library and Casey from the beginning. So
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great success story from just from the Calgary scene and how you both met and whatnot, and then put on this incredible, piece of, I'm gonna call it a piece of art because it's incredible. So obviously, Casey, you're talking about, we got to tell the story about this, a page from a book. It almost sounds like, it could be an animation of some sort, but why did you go with kind of stop motion for this storytelling? Like, what made it the right fit?
I don't know. It kind of like in my head, I just saw this like very physical, tactile thing of like initially when I talked to Michael about it, I thought it was going to fold into a person like origami. But I know nothing about like working with paper or anything like that. And so one of the early changes in the first draft of the script was Michael coming back to me and saying, "Yeah, that's not going to work. That's going to be really hard to move that thing." And like, I can't, he saw it as like such a challenge for him, but he came up with a much better idea, which was to have pieces of the book actually tear free from the book, which gave it this other level of storytelling, this other like just he's the pieces are literally tearing free. It just adds to the struggle, and then they're forming into this person. So that's where it was like, I know there's something here. I don't know enough. Michael's the expert, and like just a local company, like the library partnering with a local company is very important. We try to only partner with local artists and companies, and it was just so fortunate that Mountain Fold exists and that Michael's so great at what he does. So I'll pass it to Michael for the next part because that's kind of like that was one of the you asked us like what were some of the challenges or like how did this thing turn into what it was, and that was just an example of like that collaboration and also just bringing feedback where it was like, yeah, Michael gave that piece of feedback, this isn't going to work how you've envisioned it, but I have a better way, and it turned into something way better.
Yeah, why don't we talk about that, Michael? So how did Mountain Fold and the library kind of align on the vision for the project? How did that process happen?
so from the start, like Casey said, we just hit it off, and the ideas flowed between us, and there was a lot of collaboration there. So I think it went very smoothly. We were able to create something that we both enjoyed. Um, and yeah, it was a good collaboration, to be honest. Um, and they were willing to kind of put their ideas, I guess, into this and into us, the studio. So yeah, it
Well,
was
yeah, it
good.
was it was interesting, right? Casey, you said that, basically the storytelling kind of evolved throughout the project, right? So, like, did the skip script go through a lot of changes before you land on that final version and the concept, or what was the process around that?
Honestly, it didn't go through as many versions as I'm used to a script going through. Strangely. Not many notes from like, I have a lot of people that I need to get to review things at the library, and there wasn't many notes from that sense. The notes from Michael creatively were the most important ones of like, because they were just pointing out in the script like what is doable and not doable in stop motion, and that's the part that I didn't understand. So the script was first born out of like this initial creative meeting Michael and I had. Um, and as far as like aligning on the project and everything, I found it really easy. Like, I Michael's incredible and he's such a great collaborator, so humble and willing to collaborate and listen and give ideas. So it just was so easy from the start. And I think Michael really understood the vision for the project. And so I don't know, it was like a really easy, I don't want to say easy pre-production because the pre-production was insane, but the scripting wasn't. Like we kind of came away from our initial creative meeting with an understanding of what it was and what the heart of it was. And so like I wrote the script pretty quickly, and then there's maybe a couple drafts that were just like minor changes and things that needed to get added. And like obviously turning turning like this page coming to life, and Michael's ideas about like all the things in the library that could come to life at night. And then applying story structure to it was kind of like what happened from draft 1 to 2 to 3. Which was like, okay, there needs to be story structure, even though it's only a 2-minute video. There needs to be like,
Yeah.
his book is like the bad guy, and like there has to be things that happen at certain times in this 2 minutes so that we can end with that um, satisfying story conclusion. There has to be challenges that Paige has to overcome. He's got to learn, he's got to grow, and then he's got to get free. Um, so yeah, figuring out all those pieces was really fun because it kind of was like taking all of our ideas and applying them to that structure in a way that made sense.
And I'm curious, like Casey, you're the client, but you also have to sell this concept to some other folks on the marketing and communications team, right? So, how did you get approval for this concept? Like, was it a tough sell? Like, not a lot of folks are saying, "Hey, yeah, let's make a 2-minute video for marketing purposes," because there is like you had the call to action at the end. I can't remember what the hashtag was. Freedom to read, I think it was. Hashtag freedom to read.
Yeah.
What was the pitch process towards that Marcoms team on your end there, Casey?
It wasn't easy. I think where I struggled was articulating why the idea was so important to the library. And to go back to something you said earlier, Derek, like it's brand building, it's an ad, but it's not an ad.
Hmm.
And I think you're right. Like to stand out for a business to stand out nowadays, you have to be creative some of the time. Like, um, it can be easy to just focus on those sort of tactical marketing approaches, and get lost, and even with your captive audience that you have to lose them. Whereas I've always believed, just like from the background that I come from, that we should be giving the audience something of value, giving them a story, giving them a laugh, giving them something educational, and then they will love us and they will come buy our thing, or come to the library, do whatever it is that we really would like them to do. And luckily, the department I work in is a really creative one and always looking to push the envelope and find new ways to talk to the audience. Um, so yeah, does that answer it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because there's always that balance, right, between let's say creative ambition. You want to tell this story, you want to use stop motion, and then practical constraints, maybe budget, timeline. I'm assuming it took a long time to put together. So how do you kind of balance that creative ambition, the practical constraints like budget and timeline, uh, getting approvals from the Marcoms team, and also ensuring that it does something? Like it doesn't just tell a story, but there's actual like a call to action towards it. How do you balance all that together?
Not very well.
It's tough.
Yeah, like were there any compromises that you kind of had to make, and did it turn into like a blessing in disguise or anything like that?
I mean, initially we thought this was going to be a 45-second thing,
Mm.
which ballooned into 2 minutes and some. And really, I think the biggest constraint was shooting the actual library because we could only do it at night when it was closed.
Mm.
So, we shot it over 5 days, sometimes going from 6 p.m. till 3 a.m.
Mm.
Just on the floor of the library, moving a little paper puppet. So that was the biggest constraint for me in the process.
Okay, you shot that over 5 days? Like, how do you, like,
Yes.
when you have to leave in the evening because the library's opening in the morning, like,
Yep.
where do you put the set? And like, how do you, like, the continuity and all that stuff? How do you get that all back together? That's so fascinating.
Well, we had a great DP, Jeremy Fawkins.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Um, he helped us out, and really, it was the only thing were the lights we had to kind of take down and store at the library. Um, so after each day, we'd just kind of clean up and put everything back how it was, and it was ready for the people of that library to come back and use it. So that was the easy part, the cleanup.
Really? Really? Just because like the continuity part. Now you have to like set the lights up again. Like, do you like, I don't know, do you mark off the floor or something like that? Or how does that work?
Photos. We couldn't
Yeah.
mark off the floor.
Oh,
It was like it's an open
yeah.
library. But yeah, actually that wasn't that big of a challenge. Surprisingly, like resetting. We tried to each night like sort of finish a set if we could, but there was like the main area, which is in the children's area. We had to shoot in that spot
Hmm.
probably three different times, and we just had to be careful with
Yep.
continuity. Michael's got these like an incredible software and a process, and we had this huge monitor on set. And it was painstaking just to like we paid so much attention to the frame and to make sure that like the
Yeah.
lighting was perfect, the set was perfect. And I think that's when people say, wow, it looks so good. I think that's why. Like, first of all, I mean, the animation is incredible. Michael's such a talented artist with that stuff, but we put the time and effort in to like do the proper filmmaking steps of like production design. We're going to look at this frame and we're going to make sure everything is set up perfectly. We're going to make sure the
Yeah.
lights are lighting what we want them to, that it has that look and feel. Like Michael really wanted it to have that sort of dreamy night at the museum kind of look and feel
Yeah.
to it with the lighting.
Hmm.
And so that like that vision was clear from the start. And it was fortunate, like as far as how we balance creative and practical constraints, like I think we both just committed to uh, we're going to do this the best we can. And luckily we had the flexibility and support from each other and from my team at the library to be able to do that, to be able to like do 5 shoot nights, to be able to come in when the library is
Yep.
closed and like work in that space. And the cleaners and the security would walk by and just see these
Yeah.
couple of grown men playing with a paper doll, and it was kind of funny. But after the first night, they just walk by and say hi, and they understood
Yep.
we were doing something weird.
Yeah. They're just like, wow, I could have been doing this instead for a living. Our jobs are funny. Um, Last question,
Yep.
what kind of, I loved it, but what kind of feedback have you received from, let's say, the Marcoms team over at the library? What does success look like to you looking back at this project?
Okay, I'll start, I guess, Michael.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's several different ways that I would look at success. For me, like once the project is done and we look at it and all the stakeholders say, yes, we've achieved what we were trying to achieve, that's like really important to me. And that's kind of where like my brain kind of leaves it. So this is weird because, people still want to talk about it after the fact, and which is amazing. And thank you, Derek, for your appreciation of it and for having us on here to talk about it. So yeah, we're pleased. I think Michael's pleased with it. The stakeholders are pleased. And then the next step is, does it connect with the audience? The most important thing was like, we wanted to create this in the hopes that people who use the library, people of Calgary, would watch it and feel proud.
Mm.
And so we've got lots of great feedback. It's around 53,000 views on YouTube in less than 4 weeks, which is
Wow.
gonna be our most popular video we've ever produced on YouTube anyway. Um, So that's great. And then it's gotten lots of attention and but the most important thing to me is will they let us do the next crazy idea we come up with because this one worked, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The the basically what you've done is good justification for it. So yeah, what makes you, proud of what you've created, would you say, Michael?
It there's been a lot of great reactions to it, like yourself, and everyone that I show just loves it, and they show their friends, and it's just like this lovely snowball effect of it. And like at the end there, Casey and I were just like, "Is this good? Or like, are people going to like this?" So I think as artists, we kind of have this
Hmm.
thought process near the end of it. Um, so I'm glad that it's received such great attention. And the client's happy, right? Like all the stakeholders of the library, Casey's happy. So
Good.
um, that's a successful project to me.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'd love to see the next chapter of Page. That wasn't a pun intended. Um, Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast to the both of you. I think, yeah, again, it's a great piece of work. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, and then for the video version of the podcast, actually, Michael, I'll probably get a video download from you if possible.
Yep,
I'll throw it at the very top of the podcast. So, again, Casey,
awesome.
Michael, thanks so much for jumping on, and looking forward to the next chapter, so to speak.
Thank
Awesome.
you,
Thank
Derek.
you so
Appreciate
much,
it.
Derek.
Awesome. Take care, guys.